Have you ever poured your heart into someone only to watch them drift away, as if your love made them lose interest? It's confusing, even painful, right? You show care, empathy, understanding, yet somehow the more you give, the less they value you. What if I told you that what pushes people away isn't lack of love? It's the need to be loved. Welcome to what I call the reverse sympathy trap, the psychological loop, where good women, with the purest intentions, end up chasing connection instead of creating attraction. See, most of us are taught that being caring, available, and understanding makes us more lovable. But here's the twist. In relationships, neediness feels like pressure, while independence feels like power. Men aren't drawn to the woman who needs them. They're magnetized by the one who's okay without them. This doesn't mean being cold or heartless. It means mastering emotional gravity, the quiet confidence that says, I choose you, but I don't need you to complete me. That's the moment the dynamic shifts. That's when the chase begins. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on why sympathy, when overused, kills attraction, and how reversing that pattern can make you unforgettable. By the end, you'll know exactly how to stop overgiving, reclaim your emotional power, and embody the kind of energy that makes high-value men step up without you lifting a finger. This isn't manipulation, it's magnetic authenticity. Let's dive in. Have you ever met a man who seemed so into you at first, texting constantly, calling, making plans, and then just when you started to relax into it, he began to fade? The messages got shorter, the calls stopped, and suddenly, you're the one trying to keep the connection alive. It feels unfair, doesn't it? Because all you did was care. You thought that showing genuine interest, checking in, and being available would make him feel secure. But here's the paradox. When care crosses into chasing, something subtle shifts, the energy of attraction reverses. Men, like everyone, are wired to value what requires effort. It's not about playing games, it's about emotional balance. When a woman starts to overextend, texting first every time, over-explaining, worrying about being misunderstood, she unknowingly sends a signal. My emotional state depends on your response. That's when his subconscious interprets your attention not as affection, but as pressure. What once felt like connection now feels like obligation. And when a man feels emotionally cornered, his instinct isn't to move closer, it's to pull away. The truth is, men don't lose interest because you care. They lose interest when that care starts to replace your mystery, boundaries, and self-focus. Attraction thrives in space. It needs tension, the gentle push and pull that keeps desire alive. When you fill every silence, anticipate every need, and cushion every emotional dip, you erase the space where he can miss you. So, what's the fix? It's not pretending not to care. It's learning to care without collapsing. Keep your warmth, but protect your balance. Let him experience your absence as much as your presence. Show through your actions that your world doesn't shrink to fit his attention. Because here's the secret. The woman who values herself more than his validation creates a magnetic contrast. Her energy says, I'm here because I choose to be, not because I'm afraid to lose you. And that is what makes a man lean in. Not your effort, not your chase, but your calm confidence in knowing you don't have to. Most people think independence means doing everything on your own, not needing anyone, not caring, staying unbothered. But emotional independence isn't about isolation. It's about power. The kind that comes from knowing you can love deeply without losing yourself in the process. Imagine this, you're dating someone new, and everything feels electric. The conversations flow, the chemistry is alive, and you start to see potential. But somewhere along the way, your peace starts depending on their consistency. A delayed text starts to feel like rejection. A small change in tone feels like a threat. Suddenly your emotions belong to them, not you. That's the moment emotional independence disappears. And when it does, attraction slowly fades. Because the truth is, no one is drawn to someone who has surrendered their emotional center to another person. It's not about ego, it's about energy. The person who owns their emotions, who stays grounded no matter how someone else behaves, radiates a kind of stability that's irresistibly magnetic. Men especially are drawn to women who are calm in chaos, not because they're emotionless, but because they project certainty. She doesn't chase because she doesn't fear losing what isn't aligned. She doesn't over-explain because she trusts that what's meant for her doesn't require convincing. That kind of confidence is rare, and it stands out instantly. Emotional independence says, I choose connection, but I'm whole without it. It's the quiet message beneath your tone, your timing, your decisions. When you don't react out of fear, you lead with choice, and that's the foundation of real attraction. Think about it. When someone senses that your happiness doesn't depend on them, they relax. The dynamic becomes lighter, freer, and more authentic. Instead of trying to earn your attention, they want to deserve it. Instead of retreating from pressure, they lean into curiosity. Your independence creates emotional gravity. It pulls, not pushes. But to reach that state, you have to detach from the illusion that love means sacrifice. True love doesn't require you to abandon your peace to prove your care. Emotional independence is the ability to stay open, loving, and vulnerable without attachment to the outcome. You stop chasing validation and start protecting your energy. That's when everything shifts. The texts feel easier, the conversations become lighter, and people start noticing something different about you. They can feel your strength, not the loud kind, but the kind that whispers, I'm complete already. And when you operate from that place, relationships stop being about fear of loss and start being about genuine choice. You stop asking, will they stay, and start realizing, if they don't, I'll still be okay. That's the power of emotional independence. It doesn't just attract love, it protects your soul while you experience it. Men are wired for pursuit, not in a superficial way, but in a deeply instinctual, psychological one. The desire to chase, to earn, to win something valuable isn't about ego, it's about meaning. When something feels too easy, it loses value in the male subconscious. The challenge creates emotional investment, and emotional investment creates attachment. Think about it. A man can have options, attention, and endless validation, but the one woman who doesn't immediately give him emotional access stands out. Not because she's playing games, but because her energy says, you can't buy my attention, you have to rise to meet it. That subtle difference triggers his pursuit instinct. Men feel most alive when they're earning something they respect. That's why the woman who knows her worth, who doesn't collapse into availability at the first spark of connection, naturally commands attention without demanding it. Her calm, her standards, her patience, they all communicate value. But here's where many women unintentionally break the pursuit by trying to reciprocate too early. When a man begins to chase and a woman rushes to show equal effort, the polarity dissolves. The mystery fades. It's not manipulation, it's energy dynamics. Men aren't drawn to women who match their pace instantly. They're drawn to women who hold their ground until his intentions are clear. Pursuit isn't just about the chase, it's about growth. A man becomes a better version of himself when he feels inspired to earn a woman's trust and affection. And that journey, that sense of progression, is what makes him emotionally bond. The key isn't to test him or make him prove himself endlessly. It's to maintain your center while allowing him the space to move toward you. Because when a man feels that you're not desperate for connection, he experiences something rare, the freedom to choose you willingly. That's what creates lasting attraction, not control, not games, but the balance of respect, desire, and self-assurance that makes him realize pursuing you isn't just exciting, it's fulfilling. The reverse sympathy trap is subtle, and that's what makes it so dangerous. It starts with the best intentions. You care, you want to connect, you want to show him that you understand. But in trying to be kind, you begin to trade your power for approval. You start over-explaining, comforting, or excusing his distant behavior, hoping that empathy will pull him closer. It doesn't, it pushes him away. See, sympathy in its pure form is beautiful. But when it becomes a strategy, when you start giving emotional support to earn attention, it transforms into a silent trap. You begin feeding his ego while starving your self-respect. You tell yourself he just needs time, or he's been through a lot, and without realizing it, you start managing his emotions instead of protecting your own. The trap lies in believing that compassion will inspire commitment, It won't, because sympathy activates comfort, not desire. When a man senses that you're emotionally cushioning his flaws or trying to rescue him from himself, he may appreciate the warmth, but he doesn't feel the pull. Desire thrives on polarity, strength meeting strength, respect meeting respect. When you step too far into emotional caretaking, you blur that polarity. And here's the real twist. Men often respect the woman who doesn't rescue them more than the one who does. When you allow him to face his own emotions, to sit in his own discomfort, you silently communicate, "I believe you're strong enough to handle your life." That statement, without words, builds more admiration than sympathy ever could. Breaking the reverse sympathy trap means reclaiming neutrality. It means listening with empathy, but not trying to fix. It's saying, "I care about you, but your growth isn't my responsibility." That energy shifts everything. It turns emotional dependency into mutual respect. When you stop leading with sympathy and start leading with self-worth, you create space for real connection. Not one built on pity or fear, but one built on choice. Because the woman who can feel deeply without losing herself will always be the one he can't forget. Overgiving is one of the quietest ways women lose their value in a relationship. Not because generosity is wrong, but because when giving becomes a habit of proving, it starts to drain your power. Most women don't even realize it's happening. It begins with simple things, always initiating, always planning, always trying to make him feel comfortable, understood, and seen. But over time, it shifts from kindness to compensation, a way of filling the gaps he leaves behind. The truth is, when you give too much without being met halfway, your energy becomes predictable. You remove the mystery, the tension, and the balance that attraction needs to breathe. Over-nurturing tells a man, "You don't have to show up. I'll do it for both of us." And while he might accept that energy for a while, deep down he stops feeling the need to invest. Because why would he? You've already built the bridge and walked across it for him. Men are not inspired by comfort alone. They're inspired by the challenge of earning emotional access. When you give everything up front, your attention, your time, your care, you unintentionally rob him of that opportunity. It's not about withholding love. It's about giving it where it's reciprocated. Overgiving also creates silent resentment. You start to feel unseen, undervalued, even exhausted. Not because he's unkind, but because you've trained him to expect more than you can sustain. Love becomes labor instead of flow. And the worst part, you begin to confuse effort with worth. You start believing that if you just love harder, he'll finally recognize your value. But real value doesn't need convincing. The woman who knows her worth doesn't prove it. She embodies it. She gives from overflow, not from emptiness. She nurtures without losing herself. The danger of overgiving isn't just losing him, it's losing you. Because when your love becomes a transaction, your energy stops feeling like abundance and starts feeling like survival. Pull that energy back. Let him earn what once came too easily. Because when you stop overgiving, you stop teaching others to take you for granted and start reminding them that your love is a privilege, not a guarantee. Detachment isn't coldness. It's not pretending you don't care or building walls so no one can reach you. True detachment is quiet strength. The ability to feel deeply but not fall apart when things don't unfold the way you hoped. It's the art of staying connected to yourself, even when someone else starts to drift away. High-value women don't detach because they've stopped loving. They detach because they've learned the cost of losing themselves. They understand that chasing clarity from someone who thrives on confusion is emotional self-sabotage. Instead of begging for effort, they simply stop explaining their worth to people who've already shown they can't recognize it. This kind of detachment is graceful because it's not dramatic. There's no loud exit, no angry outburst, no emotional warfare. It's just a quiet decision, a shift in energy so subtle it can't be argued with. She stops texting first. She stops defending her intentions. She stops overanalyzing mixed signals. She allows silence to do what words never could. Graceful detachment is rooted in self-trust. It's knowing that what's meant for you will not require begging, convincing, or emotional gymnastics. It's the deep peace of realizing that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact. Men notice that energy immediately. Because when a woman detaches with composure, she triggers reflection, not resentment. He starts to feel the weight of her absence, not because she punished him, but because she no longer chases. Her silence becomes louder than her words ever were. That's the power of restraint. High-value women also detach from the outcome. They stop trying to control whether he calls, apologizes, or comes back. Their focus shifts from him to her growth, her peace, her next chapter. That emotional pivot changes everything. It's not, I don't care about you. It's, I care about me more than I fear losing you. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you detach gracefully, you often attract more sincerely. Because the energy of peace and self-possession is magnetic. It says, I'm not here to fight for your attention. I'm here to stand in my worth. The woman who can love openly yet detach gracefully is rare, because she's mastered the art of emotional sovereignty. She doesn't cling, she doesn't collapse, and she doesn't compete. She simply observes what aligns and releases what doesn't. That's grace. Not weakness, not indifference, grace. And when you operate from that level of quiet power, life starts removing everything that drains you and replacing it with what deserves you. Reclaiming your emotional power doesn't start with someone else finally treating you right. It starts with you deciding that your peace is no longer up for negotiation. Emotional power is not control, it's awareness. It's recognizing that while you can't choose how people act, you can always choose how you respond, and that choice changes everything. The first step is self-honesty. You can't heal what you keep pretending doesn't hurt. Be brutally honest about where you gave too much, where you ignored the red flags, and where you confused effort with love. That's not weakness. That's clarity. Power doesn't come from denial. It comes from seeing things as they are, not as you wish they were. The second step is emotional responsibility. Stop waiting for apologies to find closure. Stop expecting validation from people who can't even validate themselves. Closure is an inside job. Every time you take back the power to soothe your own emotions, you remove the strings that others unconsciously pull. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. Next, practice energetic discipline. That means guarding your peace like a sacred space. Don't over-explain to people committed to misunderstanding you. Don't pour into conversations that drain your spirit. Don't chase energy that isn't reciprocated. When you stop fighting for attention, your energy shifts from desperation to discernment. That shift alone makes you magnetic. Then comes detached compassion. You can love people and still walk away. You can care and still choose distance. That's emotional maturity. Not every connection deserves a front row seat in your life. Loving from afar doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you've learned the difference between attachment and alignment. And finally, reclaim your power through self-devotion. Rebuild the relationship you have with yourself. Invest in the things that make you feel alive. Your health, your dreams, your passions. The more fulfilled you become within your own world, the less you seek emotional nourishment from others. Your power grows every time you choose yourself without guilt. Because the truth is, power isn't loud. It's calm. It's the quiet knowing that you can love deeply without losing your balance. It's when you can look at someone who once shook your world and feel nothing but peace. That's the moment you realize you're no longer chasing closure. You've become it. Reclaiming your emotional power doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop bleeding for what doesn't feed you. And once you reach that point, no one can take your peace again. There's a quiet kind of power in the woman who doesn't need. A power that doesn't shout, chase, or prove. She doesn't build her worth around who chooses her. She doesn't measure her value by how much attention she receives. She stands firmly in her own energy, and that's exactly what makes her unforgettable. To be the woman who doesn't need, but is desired, is to master balance. You can love without losing your center. You can care without collapsing into overgiving. You can connect without clinging. Because when your happiness stops depending on someone else's consistency, you become emotionally untouchable. Not in a cold way, but in a grounded one. Men feel that difference instantly. They sense when a woman moves with certainty instead of desperation. When she leads with peace instead of pressure. She's not waiting for validation to feel enough. She already knows she is. And that self-assurance is magnetic. It pulls people in without effort. The truth is, desire isn't born from availability. It's born from self-possession. The woman who knows who she is doesn't chase love. she attracts it. Not because she's playing games, but because her energy says, I'm already full, you can add to my life, but you can't define it. That statement, without a single word spoken, is what makes a man want to stay. You don't have to suppress your emotions to be powerful. You just have to stop letting them control your direction. You can feel everything, the love, the longing, the disappointment, and still choose to stay anchored in self-respect. That's real strength. The world will tell you to act detached, to pretend, to withhold. But true feminine power isn't performance, it's presence. So be the woman who listens more than she pleads, who walks away without bitterness, who knows that silence can say what words never could. Be the woman who's soft, but not naive, kind, but not compliant. The one who doesn't need to be needed to feel valuable. Because when you embody that energy, something shifts. The wrong people fade quietly, the right ones rise to meet you, and life starts mirroring your inner calm. You stop chasing love and start choosing it. From a place of abundance, not emptiness. And maybe that's the lesson of the reverse sympathy trap. That the moment you stop needing to be chosen, you finally become the woman everyone desires, but only the worthy can keep. So don't dim your light to make anyone stay. Let them go, and watch how your peace, your strength, and your self-worth draw in everything you were chasing before, only this time, effortlessly.